First up is Cecil Beaton, the quintessential British fashion photographer and one of the early masters of the art. Beaton became a household name as the man responsible for the design of My Fair Lady, where his sets and costumes showed off his incredible theatrical flair and flamboyance. It was a style he first developed as a photographer, creating fantastical and elaborate images.
The visual really guides my life more than anything. I wanted to make pictures with the camera. I wanted to make something that didn't really look like a photograph.
Beaton joined Vogue in the 30s and became renowned for his vivid portraits of society figures in glamorous and often quirky surroundings. Always at the heart of the social scene, even in his later years he was a brilliant chronicler of the swinging 60s. But back in the 30s he helped set the template for fashion photography, packaging an aspirational world of decadent beauty and above all selling a dream.
I created a fantasy. I created a sort of dream world.
The Beaton image I've chosen to recreate is a 1934 photograph of Vogue. It was a simple brief to show off a new hat design, but Beaton brought to it his typical wit, elegance and playfulness, so that what she's wearing is almost secondary to the beauty of the image.
The famous person's here. Hi!
The hat definitely works better on you.
Take me home.
To recreate the image, I was trying to think who would fit the 30s look best. And I thought pop star and model Sophie Ellis-Bextor would be the perfect choice. Wow. I felt that your look would fit quite well in that 30s and 40s kind of...
I love Cecil Beaton stuff. I actually did my history of art A-level thesis on Cecil Beaton.
Oh my God.
I have in my time written 3,500 words.
On Cecil Beaton?
On Cecil Beaton, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to try and reinterpret an image that I didn't feel any affinity with. Whereas I do feel affinity with this one because it's kind of more towards his portraiture and it's more towards his...
It's true, actually. It's a good sort of hybrid of the two, isn't it? The portraiture and the fashion thing. And I think it sums him up quite well, really.
We're actually using a camera that was similar to the camera that he used to use, a 10x8 camera, and we're going to use similar lights, so it might take a tiny bit longer. You have to be a bit patient. I've not used this kind of camera for quite a long time, so I'm slightly nervous.
It'd be lovely. It sounds like you're going to get something really authentic.
You've got that look between the lines.
Ray Harwood was assistant to Beaton for many years and has come along to help me find out a bit more about the man himself.
To be photographed by Cecil Beaton was quite a distinction. When he came in, it was his studio, his set, his shoot.
So he was the boss?
Absolutely. Never said it. He had a little high fluty voice. Charming, like it.
And did everybody call him Mr. Beaton?
Mr. Beaton or Sir. Remember that behind him, he had a whole studio of assistants, a whole dark room of processors. He had a tremendous backup.
You've got that look between the lines.
The one thing that hasn't really changed, I do get my assistants to do everything.
You'll only feel my will before I speak. So turn on that low left hook. I know that.
Yeah. Similar to when I put out cakes, really.
Does it look good? Yeah, it looks great. Just position, that's great. So one of the things you have to understand about 10.8 is it's all upside down. It's tough, but it's kind of magical as well. And you do feel a little bit like you're looking back through time through the lens. Without a mirror behind the lens to make the subject appear the right way up, as with modern cameras, the upside down image often meant photographers composed photos in a very formal way. So in the early years, technology really influenced the visual style, and it will be interesting to see whether using some of the period techniques will make a difference to the picture I create.
It's done.
Okay, so now we're actually putting film into the back. I'm going to take 2 frames and hope for the best. We're not quite sure what the exposure will be, so we have to kind of guess at it. Okay, you ready? So you have to stay still now.
There's a little switch with one of the nerves.
So she's waiting for us. And you ready? 3, 2, 1. Great. And quickly turn it round. Let's just break for a second, Sophie. Okay, let's do it quickly. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, so let's try the sad eyes. So, sad eyes. 3, 2, 1. Right. Okay, so we've shot film. This is all so different to the speed I usually work at, and not being able to see the image instantly is really disconcerting. Everything seems to be taking an hour to do, which is very frustrating. And I can't even imagine how frustrating it is to sit under that heat.
Models would get paid 3 guineas an hour, and if you buggered around and wasted 2 hours, you wasted or used 6 guineas worth of model time.
Right.
Didn't do that. Everything was ready before the photographer got there.
So you hear, my assistant should be hearing this, shouldn't they? So before the photographer got there, everything was ready to shoot.
Yep.
Which is exactly what happened.
And did he shout at you?
No, never shouted. Never raised his voice.
Great, okay, let's go. Basically now what we're doing is, because we've got absolutely no idea what images we've got or if they're any good or not, we're actually reverting back to digital. That's lovely. With the digital camera hooked up to the computer, I can immediately see how the image is looking. That's nice. Just lean forward a little bit like that, that's good, and up a little higher if you can go higher. That's fab, hun. Have a quick look at those. That's wonderful. I'm really happy with it, and I think Sophie's finished, so we should get you out, honey, because it's amazing. So here it is, my version of an image taken over 70 years ago using a face of today and the latest digital camera. I love this picture. It's got a real sense of emotion, though maybe not the sadness of Beaton's original.
I actually found it a lot more chatty. Everybody was a lot more dynamic when we went back to digital. And the film felt a lot more quiet and tranquil. I just let it all happen around me, and I've now decided exactly what I'm going to cook for supper when I get home. So
Really?
yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
So what are you having for dinner tonight?
I'm going to do cod and chorizo.
The question, of course, is whether my 10:8 film version will be any different, or if it's even going to come out. It's so weird to be back in a dark room and have this smell. You're not supposed to put your fingers in here, but I always used to. Here it comes. Beautiful. That looks amazing. So now it goes into the stop. This stop's a developer. I feel like a TV chef, and you put it into the fix. That fixes the image onto the paper. So the moment of truth, it's not bad. If you look at her face, Sophie was right that the slower pace of the film shoot made a difference. She's definitely got an enigmatic look in the film image that's not there in my modern colour version.